Hey, welcome to the Autopsy of Unwise Choices, a journey we're going to take into the crossroads of life and the consequences that follows. I'm your host, P.D. Word, bringing you nearly 2 decades of experience from the deaf industry. Each episode, we will dissect the real-life stories and peel back the layers of decisions that have been leading our youth to unfortunate ends. Our mission, to illuminate the path of wiser choices for our youth. So let's embark on this journey together, because every choice tells a story. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome to the Autopsy of Unwise Choices, a journey we're going to take into the crossroads of life and the consequences that follows. I'm your host, P.D. Word, bringing you nearly 2 decades of experience from the deaf industry. Each episode, we will dissect the real-life stories and peel back the layers of decisions that have been leading our youth to unfortunate ends. Our mission, to illuminate the path of wiser choices for our youth. So let's embark on this journey together, because every choice tells a story. Are you? Hey, welcome to the Autopsy of Unwise Choices. I'm your host, P.D. Ware. I appreciate you all joining us this evening. This is episode number 9, and tonight we're going to be talking about saying no is still cool. So I got this topic from one of my team members. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into it. If you have any nuggets that you want to drop, or any questions or comments that you want me to reference, drop them in the comment box. So what do we mean by saying no is still cool? And we know that this platform is here to transform the decision making of our youth. And I can speak for, as a resident of our city, and we're still not seeing much relief as it relates to the amount of violence that we're seeing with our kids, youth and young adults, still making decisions that are costing lives every single day. And so in order to redirect the paths, one of the things I feel like is we have to teach kids or advise them in such a way that it's okay to not follow the crowd. Like saying that, you want to be different, that you want to do something different. There's still some coolness in that. So I think that's probably one of the toughest things, when so many see the majority following the crowd. So it's almost like, in school, when you see a fight or something and everybody is trying to run to see what's going on. And the one time that you decide to run and see what's going on, something else escalates, and the fight not only engulfs the 2 people who started it, but some of the onlookers. And so as we go a little bit deeper into what does it mean saying no, like what are the ramifications for our kids in saying no? One of the things is that by them saying no to some of the things that they're propositioned with, it could mean them going down a totally different path that they have no idea about, and that's everything from who they choose to, could be something as simple as walk to school with, could be something as simple as who they choose to sit by in the cafeteria, who they choose to talk to. You just never know what those encounters will hold, especially if the conversation goes sideways. How do we teach our kids in the midst of certain circumstances how to say no, and what are the benefits of saying no? So one of the things that I would love to hear from you all is, like, what are some effective ways we can teach our young people to recognize when it's appropriate to say no? If you're watching, you're tuned in, drop some comments in there. Like, what are some of the effective ways that we can teach our young people to recognize when it's appropriate to say no? And I think for one thing is getting them to really think about the circumstances, like what the outcome will be if they say yes. Is it going to cause bodily harm? Is it going to negatively affect them? Is it going to negatively affect somebody else? Um, the old saying goes, you treat people the way you want to be treated. Is that going to be the case in those particular situations, even when it seems like they have to stand by themselves? But for unfortunately, so many of our kids, that's a life or death situation. But we do have kids that are out here that are making the decision every single day to say no to the temptations that they have encountered on a daily basis. And shout out to all the kids um, that are consistently showing up every single day and making those decisions to choose to walk that narrow path. That's okay with being different. Just know that your difference will make a difference. And the more that we have that say no, then the more that we can keep the kids that would otherwise say yes. Maybe give them a pause to think about before they realize, like, okay, well, if they said no, then it's cool for me to say no too. So shout out to all of our kids that are saying no, okay with not fitting in. They're okay with embracing their uniqueness, their authentic selves, and they are thriving. We do have kids out here that are thriving, so we definitely, are not overlooking them and the accomplishments that they're making every single day. I saw a couple of young men about 2 weeks ago featured on the news, and they have their own cookie shop. These they getting out of school, and not only that, while they're in school, they're getting their work, and when they get out, they're doing constructive things. They're running their shop. They're making their own money. They're learning, finances, how to work together, teamwork. So they're building lifelong skills. Seeing that is super encouraging, super positive to see that in our community, and we want to see more of those. And we're going to be highlighting some of those kids on the podcast to give them an opportunity to share with other kids, to encourage other kids that, hey, saying no is still cool. We got this going on over here because, one, we know that, hey, they got a vision. They got dreams, they got goals. And not only that, they've written them down and they're implementing them, and they're seeing good fruit from their labor. It's not that they're not aware of the other things that are out there, but they're making a conscious decision every day to show up, to do the right things because they want to be around. They want to pour back into their environments, into society in a positive way. And so we want to shout out those kids, shout out to those two young men that were featured to have the cookie shop that are doing great things. And for all of our other kids out there, I know a fantastic group of kids over at St. Mark with Pastor Mims, and they are always engaged and doing what they need to do. And it's not saying that, the kids are not struggling, but they have that support system that's encouraging them. Hey, it's saying no is still cool. Like, the uniqueness that each one of y'all has is needed in the community. It's needed out here. And we have to be able to show our kids in our own lives how we show up. That, hey, for adults, it's still cool to say no to some things. We know we've gotten into some things that we probably said yes to, and we know that it didn't get us take us down the right path. And so we teach them, from the mistakes that we've made. And don't be ashamed about it. That's how we learn, because kids will watch us. And I just feel like nowadays that they not only watch what you do, they listen to what you say as well. So especially if what you're saying is not matching up in what you're doing, then, we're responsible for leading them, astray and down the wrong paths. And so we have to be cognizant of that as parents, as adults, as mentors, educators, how we show up every day, that we're setting the examples that we want our kids to follow. And so I'm encouraged because I know that in spite of all the things that are going on in our city, we got enough good kids. We just got to get them to make a lot of noise so that some of the kids that are maybe on the fence that are straddling, they're struggling every day when they get up, whether or not, to say no to something that could change their life, because they're not really thinking about all of the consequences that's going to follow. And everything doesn't always lead to death, but there's some life altering paths that will totally change their life, where it would almost, unfortunately, make some probably, doubt whether or not they want to still be here. And that's a painful place for a child to be, where they make those decisions. And so we do have to educate too as parents. They may not be thinking that far down the line. And so as parents, as adults, as those that are leading the way, that are trying to pave the way, like sit down and have those in-depth conversations, just what those consequences can be. Like, and be in detail. Our kids need details. And they're playing video games and they're seeing all of this violence on the video games, and the lyrics that we're hearing and the music and stuff that's being played across the radio, whether they're downloading this stuff. I mean, they're explicit with it. So if they're getting that more so than they're hearing our voices, then when our voices are there, they got to be booming. Like, we have got to be demanding in our requests of our kids, and commanding in a way to where they're going to listen. But you paint that picture so vividly that it's going to cause them to be alert to what you're saying. And so I'll give you an example. When I'm out and I'm talking to kids, and if we're talking about gun violence, and a lot of times kids think that a lot of stuff is like TV. And I tell them, death is nothing like TV. Like, there is no, once that bullet leaves the chamber, and if you think about the mechanism that have to go into place in order for that bullet to come out of that weapon, and then it hits the skin, and your skin is so tough, but it goes in and it penetrates, and it could hit bone, and it's tearing up everything in its path. And so when you have those, like, and as I'm explaining this to them, like going in and then be able to see all of the things that get torn up on the inside, lungs appears, hearts appears. You got bullets that go into the head where the brain, the skull is pierced, brain matter comes out. That's not natural. And so explain it, like being that explicit, like when you get here, when I would get calls, there is nothing else that's going to happen besides you going in a cooler, and the next thing you know, you're on the autopsy table, and then you're at the funeral home getting prepped to go in a casket. And that's as vivid as we have to be with the conversations, and telling them each and every step, but so they know, okay, if I do this, they're just thinking in the moment. They're just worried about fitting in and not looking weird or not being weird. Hey, it's cool to be the weird kid. I was the weird kid in school. Still probably weird to some people in some ways, but hey, Pam is who she is. Pam is cool with who she is. And Pam is still cool with saying no to a lot of things that doesn't line up with Pam's morals and Pam's values. I don't compromise that for anything at all. And I won't compromise those for anything. So we have to get our kids to that point where they are thinking about not just a moment, but how that moment can affect their future. And so I am grateful for the opportunity to continue to be able to share my voice, to share my experiences. But like I said, we have to bring all the voices together so that we make a booming, resounding noise so that they will stop to pay attention. Because if we can just get a pause sometimes, that may be all it takes for them to look up, and it's like, okay, they're acknowledging, and they're actually visualizing, they're seeing what's going on. And then we can move forward and making informed decisions And so I want to pause for just a second to see if we got any questions, anybody got anything they want to add to it. And so, Sent, you got anything, any questions? So I just pulling up my feed. And so in talking about like our kids that are out here doing positive things, one of my good friends I went to high school with, TJ Beatty, his son is a phenomenal soccer player, and he goes to Memphis Business Academy. He just posted that they won the Division 1 district, the district champions in soccer. And so having, seeing that is encouraging. He's involved not only in athletics, but he's also an academic scholar as well. And he is doing phenomenal things in his life, and he has a great support system. So shout out to the Beebe family. And that's what our kids need. They need that day in and day out. And with the state that we're in right now, not just as a city, not just this city, but all over this country, y'all, we are seeing so much violence and so much lack in respect for life that we have got to be committed to staying on this journey every single day. And that's why every time on the podcast, I'm always encouraging you. If there's whether you're a parent or not, if you're a mentor, you're a coach, you're an educator, if there's even if none of those titles fit you, if there's a kid that you see on a regular basis, could be somebody on your block, it could be somebody that you see maybe at the store that you go to, that you work at all the time, and you see that they're if they're working, like it doesn't take anything to offer a word of encouragement to them, to brighten their day, give them a message of hope. One of the things I used to do all the time, coming up, is one of the things I'm going to be committed to getting back to. I always keep these motivational cards with me, and I will give them out, and then based on what I knew people were going through, I will pick a card that was appropriate, that I felt like will brighten somebody's day. And even without doing that, just a simple smile, just to ask somebody, just to say even hello, hey, how you doing? How's your day going? And really mean it, really mean it. When people passing me in the store and they say, hey, how you doing? I say, hey, I'm doing good. How about yourself? Even if it's because I want to know, and I'll give a smile, and a smile can mean 1,000 things. I mean, if you get somebody to smile, and that could brighten up a day. That could be the catalyst for them having not only just an enjoyable rest of their day, that could be the only bright spot in their day. And that bright spot may be what they need to get them through the rest of the week for the month, because they'll remember, hey, I didn't even know this lady, I didn't even know this man. And man, that just that genuine smile, just that genuine care and concern. And I feel like we got to give our kids that as much as we can, day in and day out, in order to be able to keep them on the path that's going to lead them to prosperity and whatever it is that they want to do, and whatever it is that their goals, that their ambitions that they have. It's important that we, continue to encourage them and talk to them, find out what it is that they're interested in. And if you can be of a support to them, like do whatever it is that you can, like on a daily basis. I mean, for me, it's always like the one of my favorite quotes is that motivation doesn't last always, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. And a lot of our babies, they need it daily. They need some encouraging words. They need to know, hey, they need that affirmation. They need validation. They need hope instilled into them in order to be able to, resist some of the temptations that's out there. And we know as parents, a lot of the things, even as adults, the stuff that we struggle with. So just imagine what they're going through with social media and all the things that they have access to that we didn't even have access to, that plays, on them mentally, that wears on them physically, that wears on them emotionally. So they are battling every single day, and we got to get in the battlefield with them. If that's praying those babies up at night when you put them in the bed, praying for them before they go out in the morning. If you're at work or wherever you are, when they pop on your mind, lift them up in prayer, encourage them. And those things right there make a big difference, because while you're praying, you never know what they may be faced with in a moment. And then something may happen in that moment where it moves them to move in a different direction, and something that saves their life, that changes their thought pattern about something, they're recalling. Give them tools that they can use in order to be able to uplift themselves as well, teaching them what to do maybe when you're not around. Hey, look, let them see you encourage yourself. Let them see you say no to some things and still be cool, and you still respect it. You still got the respect of the people that you need to have the respect for. We're all not meant to be in everybody's circle, and be okay with that. But the ones that you're supposed to be around, the ones that you're supposed to influence, let your kids see you. Let our youth see you, saying no to those things. And they could see that hey, she said no to that. And didn't even think twice about it, and ain't worried about, nobody not, accepting them or saying, even if somebody says something, hey, keep it moving. To just keep it moving and being able to show them the things that we want them to do, and not doing something totally different than what we're saying, like making sure that our walk matches up. And so I'm going to jump on, I'm going to see if there's anybody that's dropped anything in here that they want to add to it. Let's see. Wrap up. One of the things I love, and we'll come back to it. We'll get some more questions and find out what you all like. What's some tips? What's some tools that you all feel? Drop them in the comments. If you would, leave a review for the podcast, but definitely drop some questions in there. Like, what are some tools that you feel like we can give our youth? And if you're a parent, your coach, a mentor, educator, or you're actively involved in a young person's life, what are some of the tools that you use that will help those that you're mentoring and involved with say no to some things, and still and let them know that they'll still be cool, that it's okay to refuse some things, and how to stand up for themselves when they do, and what to do, in the event that, hey, they said no, they know that they're cool, but they may still need a little something else, like a little bit more, encouragement. Say, hey, look, you made the right decision. That's going to help them continue to facilitate to uh, make sure that when they facing different things, that they actually assessing those situations. Because sometimes we'll just fly by the seat of our pants, and one decision can lead into something else, and we just get caught up in certain moments, and before we know it, there's a number of events that's transpired, and it's like, okay, things are kind of out of control. Now we got to slow down, stop, let's go back, let's reassess, and making sure that they're not so far gone that we can't bring them back. And so I want to encourage, like I said, all of our young people out there, for all of our parents that are, actively involved. And for those, if you're not actively involved and you can use some help, we'll definitely be lifting you up in prayer, and it takes a community, it takes a village. And I truly believe that with all my heart, that it takes all of us as parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, coaches, teachers, all of those that come in contact to really deepen the footprint of our kids in this world. I know I had fantastic coaches in high school, in addition to my own village of my family. But shout out to Coach Liz Marable, shout out to Coach Jan Tobias, God rest her soul. But those coaches were very instrumental, in a lot of hey, saying no is still cool. They demanded a lot, but they also gave a lot. And so they set an example, for me, and I'm always grateful for having them along my path in life. And I know Liz is doing great things, and I'm seeing a lot of her on social media. And she truly has a passion and a heart for our kids. And as long as I've known her, I always have. I played ball for her at Kingsbury and ran track, but she is a phenomenal woman. And I was very thankful and grateful and blessed I've had her in my life as a coach. And coaches do a lot. I know coaches do a ton for the kids. They're like second parents, and they do a lot in seeing, a lot of the potential in our kids as well. So shout out to all of our coaches, that carry that load, day in and day out, playing, providing things. And a lot of times, y'all, and for those that are in education, those that are in coaches, a lot of that stuff come out of pocket. They're not getting compensated for that. But that's the love, that's the passion for what they do. And so encourage them as well for those that are pushing our kids and showing our kids that, hey, saying no is still cool. They need to be lifted up too. And so we all, I know, got work that we can do. And so as I always say, for that young person that's in your life, man, encourage them. They every chance you get, just let them know, even if it's so simple. Hey, I thought about you yesterday. I hope everything is going well. And give them something that they can read. Give them something that's going to challenge them, that's going to pique their interest, something that's going to have them think in a way that they may not have ever been exposed or ever thought about. Challenge them in those ways to think outside of their traditional box. I know in mortuary school they would tell you, like, you read that book, the embalming book, so that you can pass your state boards. But when it comes to like preparation, it's being in the prep room and actually doing the case after case after case after case after case. Repetition and seeing the different changes that you're going to see. That's what's going to make a difference. You got to sometimes, the book, if it's structured, it may not work. So you got to be able to think outside of the box. And our kids need to be able to have a high level of critical thinking in order to solve some of the complex problems that we see they're going to be faced with. Continue to encourage our kids, continue to encourage those that are out here that are doing the work. And as I said, shout out to all of our kids that are showing up and showing out, that are saying no, because guess what? You're still cool. So until next time. Thank you so much for joining the Autopsy of Unwise Choices, where today's stories are more than just cautionary tales. They're beacons guiding our youth towards better decisions. And remember, the choices that they make today shape their tomorrows. So if today's episode moved you in any way, then share it with someone who needs to hear these lessons. Follow us at pdwhereinspires.com to check out the weekly blog, book speaking engagements, and check out dates for upcoming live events. And remember, until next time, encourage our youth to make choices that pave the way for brighter futures.